Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you this card that is meant for a birthday card, but I'm using it as a Valentine's card because of the card. It's a classic now and I'm giving it to my hubby. I think it is perfect to give to your significant other. Okay, so I'm going to use this background stamp from Hero Arts that is called Bursting with Love, and this is going to the background for my card front, and I'm inking it up using Versamark ink because it's going to heat emboss it using the Brutus Monroe Alabaster White Embossing Powder. Since this is a large stamp, you have to ink it up several times until the ink and I'm heating it up really well here so I'm able to see the hearts later on. Now let's start working on my background, and we're going to use my Distress Oxide inks, and I'm starting with Worn Lipstick, then Festive Berries and Fired Brick, from the lightest to the darkest color. And with my ink blending brush, I'll be doing circular motions all over my panel using all three inks, as you see me doing here. I want the lightest color to be on top and the darkest on the bottom. I tend to go over it a few times until I'm satisfied with the results, as you see me doing here. I'm just going back and forth with the colors, working it up and down. What's cool about this set is that you can customize it to what you like. My idea here was to put my little buggy at the bottom of my card front and have the presents, cupcake and the candy coming out from the inside of the buggy and the balloons trailing behind. I'm just positioning all of my stamps here on the card stack. I want this image to look like the car is in motion, just driving along. So I'm stamping all of the images that I'm going to use on this card, and I'm going to color them using my Spectrum Noir markers. These are alcohol markers, and I love these markers because they are not as expensive as some other ones, and the quality is also very good. And I don't have any problems with these markers. I think they look as good as the expensive ones. I colored the buggy using the blue color family. To the hubcaps, for the wheels I used gray, and for the fender I'm going to use this silver holographic car stack that I have. Here I'm just coloring the hubcaps, and I'll be coloring the fenders. I'm coloring the fenders as well, as you see me doing here. And I'm starting from the lightest to the darkest color. What's good about these markers is that you have three colors in one. You can use the sides of the brush as well as the middle one of the pen. And you have the three colors from lightest to darkest. You don't need to have all these different pens or markers, two colors. You can just use one and you have three colors in one. And I'm just trying to do my cards, which is my hobby that I love. But it's just the timing. I don't have that much time, but I thank you very much for watching my videos. You can transform the card with this kit. Depending on the occasion, you can give it to anybody and just make it really nice for that occasion. So for the wheels, of course, I'll be using the black marker as you see me doing here. I try doing it carefully so I don't go over the circle lines. For this little convertible top, I use this pattern red paper. I'm inking it up and stamping it on the corner of this pattern paper. I put that aside for now so I can start coloring my images. I'm starting out with the balloons. And in my mind, I was just thinking about having a very festive card with the Valentine theme or colors. And I'm just thinking about driving over to visit my hubby with all these presents and the balloons flying all over as I am going to meet up with him. I'm just adding these fun colors to give it more life to this card. I'll be using the color yellow for the star. The other balloon will be purple. And of course, the heart balloon, it has to be red. As well as the ribbon. Look at how cute they are beginning to look now. I love the balloons. They're really cute. And see, these markers have the trio colors. They're really very convenient to use. You don't have to take all of your markers out. One marker has the three colors that you need. So after coloring all of my images, I pull the coordinating dies and I'm going to stick them down using masking tape and run them over to my die cutting machine. I'm just taping the dies here and just getting them ready to run them over my die cutting machine. I think this buggy car is super cute. Just reminds me of the 70s say era. So after cutting all of them, I decided to get my sentiment ready, and I used the word Valentine from this cute stamp set from Penny Black. I'm just positioning it here to make sure it's center. Using Versamark ink and getting ready to hit emboss the word. I wanted to also use these cloud dies from Lawn Fawn, and I'm using 2 different color vellum paper here. So I'm just positioning my elements just to see where I want them to go in order to cut them the size as my card front. And for that I pulled my rectangle die to cut the clouds. So here I'm just placing them onto my card front. Just to see how much I need to cut. Just placing my balloons to see how everything is looking with the clouds behind them. So here I pulled out my rectangle die to cut the clouds. And once I do that, I'm placing them onto my card just so I can have an idea of how everything is going to look at the end. I'm just kind of having an idea how I want things and how are things going to look. I'm filling up all of the elements in the buggy. For the fenders, as you know, I'm using this holographic cardstock, and so I want to make them look 3D. And for that, I am using Martha Stewart's stylus to make my balloons and the fenders dimensional, as you see me doing here. I'm not pressing hard, and I'm just doing circular motions just to give it that dimensional look. Now it's time to glue all of the pieces onto my card, and I'm going to start with the Vellum Clouds. And one thing that you cannot do is use ordinary glue to glue the vellum. Vellum is translucent, so you see through it. So you got to make sure you use the right glue for it. Something that is not going to show as much because the liquid glue will show more, and I did not want to redo the clouds, so next time I will use my glue dots instead. I'm going to start gluing all of my elements to my buggy. I am carefully positioning them where I want them to go. And just make sure you glue the elements first and then the buggy, because here I did it reverse. I glued the buggy first, I added glue to my buggy, and then I started gluing the elements onto it. So it was getting messy for me with my hands, my fingers, because the back of the car was already glued. Okay, so here I already glued the card to my card front. adding foam tape to the back of my balloons and the ribbon. And I'm continuing adding the foam tape in the back of the balloons, the ribbons, and the fenders. So for the side skirt, I am going to put a thin line of that holographic paper. I think that makes it look a little different. Better, I think. So now I'm going to adhere the fenders down, and I'm using my tweezers to do so. And here's my cat paying us a visit. She likes to sniff a lot at things. She's very curious about things. You know, I've never owned a cat in my life before, and as some of you know, she's a stray cat that I got about 1.5 or 2 years ago. But I never knew how much you can really love your pets until she came into my life. I really care for her more than I do my dog. I care about my dog, but it's just not the same. She's a very curious cat. She's so cute. So I'm gluing here the Be Mine word. And now I'm gonna start gluing the frame to the card base and to cover up a little of the glue showing. Now I'm gluing it to my card base. I'm using some of my sequins on the top left just to try to cover up all that glue that it shows that I did not like, but I couldn't change it anymore. So for now, I'm going to use this Simon Says stamp Trio of Love die, and I'm using the XOXO die on the top left hand corner of the inside of my card using a holographic paper to have a shiny XOXO.